Çatalhöyük, for those of you who haven't read the book or know about Çatal, was this immensely sophisticated civilization that existed in the 7th millennium BC. We're talking 6,000 years before zero. This civilization existed and was destroyed, and the characteristic of it is shrines dedicated to cattle. And in my book, I argue that this was probably the last outpost of this partnership society. But it was still, I think the real golden age of mushroom use was probably from about 30,000 years ago to about 15,000 years ago. And by the time Çatalhöyük comes along, it's a fading or yearly or seasonal thing.
Important one. One of the assertions that you made earlier was that these indole-based plant hallucinogens actually change people that use them. And the unfortunate thing that I observed is I can't agree with that assertion. It seems that as many people, it seems like only a really few people are changed by it. Only those who are predisposed to change. And I'd like one of the questions you asked, does it make us better, does it make us different? And I'm just not convinced at all. When I see people taking mushrooms and going around doing changes things, and just being as jerky as they ever were, I mean, and going and judging and using weapons plants, and, I don't see it happening.
Well, my argument would be that people don't take it enough, and they don't take it frequently enough. That there are a lot of people who really would rather not get loaded, but who feel they must take some psychedelic drug in order to keep membership in their peer group. So what they do, you can always spot these people because their first question at the get-go is, will I be able to drive? I love this question because it indicates you've got a real tough nut on your hand. In every sense of the word, no, you will not be able to drive. One of the things that inspires me to do this is I want to get to the people who've taken 3 grams of mushrooms and the people who've taken 150 mics of LSD. And I want to convince those people that they never got close to what I'm talking about, even though they had a life-transforming experience and saw things totally differently. They never got close to what I'm talking about. And so what you have to do is convince people to take high doses, and then that's to break them through, and then frequently enough that they don't forget what the deal is. So I think if you take a psychedelic population and divide it into those who have done 5 grams and above, then you will see an exceptional slice, but not the dabblers. The dabblers don't count. And we all can be, or at times, guilty of this, I think. And then, is that your last question? Does that do it for you? Or do you want to be thought psychotic? You choose. Well, I'd love competition. I mean, the competition is terrible. That's the entire basis of my success. Yeah. You, because you were before, if you still wish. Right.
Why, I guess you think your way is preferable.
Why? Because, I mean, I don't know if it's preferable, but here's the thing. People are going to think you're a nut if you come down and say that Johann Sebastian Bach or Jerry Garcia is God. And this is what you will have to say if you listen to the Dead or the B minor Mass. So what I'm interested in is I want to know the thing in itself, not what it does to Bach, not what it does to a river flowing through a forested valley. I want to see what it can do with darkness and silence. And I think most people think it'll be boring, probably because they've been hanging out with these beady-eyed gurus meditating, and God knows there's nothing more boring on earth than most meditations. However, psychedelic, sitting in a darkened room on 5 dried grams of psilocybin mushrooms is nothing like meditating. And that's where it can get at you. My relationship to it is always one of, I want to know what it is. And so I think this sensory deprivation method is the only way to get at that. Other people might not like that. People say, well, you mean you put down the whole thing of going into nature? Isn't nature the great affirmation in all this? And the answer is, yeah, but it works for me sort of without the drugs. Plus, and this is just maybe my own weirdness, but I'll share it with you, I have noticed that these things are incredibly disruptive of the ordinary flow of casuistry. Do you all know the concept synchronicity? Well, if you don't stay in your room with the lights out and the phone unplugged, and the damnedest things will happen to you. I mean, you couldn't pay me to go into an American city, even mildly loaded, because adventures beckon. Now, some people like that. You know, some people say, you know, let's take 500 mics and go meet weird people. Not this cookie. Yeah.
In reply to your statement about what I find happens there is that you create an experience where you are taking in other people's dogma. You know, you're bringing in something that's already done, and I feel like the peak experience is when you create something new, and something new expresses itself from the depth of the being, which is why I also say the darkness sometimes. But one thing that I did learn is that the high doses are very, very interesting. It would take me way far beyond the small doses. And I've experimented with both homeopathy and natural extracts in terms of making my own medicine. But in terms of psychedelics, if you take that into, and my question is coming right course, if you take that into a situation where you remove the whole molecular pattern that you do in homeopathy, do you think that there could be a more potent experience through that solution?
Are you asking me, do I think a homeopathic preparation of a psychedelic would be effective? It would be homeopathically effective. I wouldn't expect it to be experientially effective.
See, I would say that since what we do out here is a direct creation of what we are inside, that's the current paradigm I'm looking at, that if you do change it in the same manner that you change it in homeopathy, which is changing the etheric so that you then create the gross material side, that it would be even more potent and even more immediately effective in reconstructing our reality.
But don't you think that if that were true, and since in a high dilution like that no molecular trace of the original compound remains, that you have then just found the solution to the legalization conundrum?
I believe that, because one thing that we're noticing in the field of civil medicine now is that we're getting a lot of political flack for having medicines out there, but homeopathy is seeming through unscathed as it has for many years.
Because in a materialist world, it's assumed to be bogus. Right. Yeah. Well, this seems to me not an abstract proposition at all. Let the best homeopaths succuss the strongest hallucinogens and set them out, and let's give it a whirl.